The world is finding out what we already know in this Coliseum. The world is finding out that this university is simply one of the finest in the land. And in a matter of minutes, we're going to be sending out hundreds of new alumni, new ambassadors to spread the truth that we already know. You see, we're about to unleash, so to speak, the class of 2024. Make no mistake, this class is one of the most academically talented, one of the most exquisitely educated, one of the most service-oriented class to ever graduate in the 240-year history of our beloved alma mater. This class was raised to be inquisitive, to be unselfish, to be resourceful. Remember, this is the class that when they packed up to come here, they just didn't have backpacks and mini fridges. They had handfuls of face masks. They had a carton of hand sanitizers. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, is the class that powered through a worldwide epidemic. This is a class that never saw the Georgia Bulldogs lose in Sanford Stadium. This is a class that while they were here saw not only 2 back-to-back National Football Championships, they saw 2 back-to-back Rhodes Scholarships. Ladies and gentlemen, this class, the class of 2024, will not soon be forgotten. Truly, given their academic prowess, their intelligence, their resourcefulness, their toughness, it will not surprise me in the least to find that we're sitting here this morning amongst a world-acclaimed economist, a U.S. Supreme Court justice, an innovative transplant physician, a world-renowned ecologist. So, class of 2024, it's only proper that we take a moment to savor your accomplishments and peek ahead. After all, for every single one of you, there were at least 10 who wanted to be seated in your very seat. At least 10 who had childhood dreams of sitting where you sit with a black robe and a red stole, getting ready to turn that tassel, student to alumni. Some of them, as they grew up, just knew not to even apply. Some of them applied, hopefully, but were disappointed. But not you. You held on to your dream. You worked, you prepared, and you did not let go of what mattered. And why wouldn't somebody want to be in your seat? Why wouldn't somebody want to be graduating this morning from the University of Georgia? Look at the brain power, the talent amassed behind me and right over here. Professors, deans, administrators, alumni who are caring, who are innovative. They lead a school that for 8 years in a row has been named one of the top 20 public universities in America. A school that boasts a top number of Fulbright scholars, a top number of Rhodes scholars, a top honors college, a top law school, a top business school, a top journalism school. We hail from 45 states, from 18 countries. We call ourselves a Bulldog Nation. I don't know, President Moorhead, I think it's a Bulldog world. And now you're going to be at the vanguard. To the friends and the family and the parents, you are justifiably proud. Those of you who are parents and alumni, this morning has to be filled with sweet memories. Maybe some of you brought your beloved child to this beloved place. Maybe you put your child on your shoulders to get a good look at the dog walk, or stood in line at G-Day to get their picture taken with UGA. Maybe you dressed your little first grader in a jersey or a cheerleading outfit. Maybe you watched your 10-year-old jump up to grab that rope to swing the chapel bell. Maybe you pointed up in the southwest corner to your 12-year-old. Look, there's the lone bugler. Maybe you pushed your teenager away from the arches so they didn't walk through them. And maybe you did your best to hide your tears when you dropped your 18-year-old off at the dorm. Well, if you did any of that, then you'll understand why the pride I feel in speaking to you this morning is matched only by the love I feel for my own 2024 grad, Catherine Wood, who sits here among you, this storied class. A few confessions. I graduated from the University of Georgia, as President Moorhead said, 40 years ago. I barely remember who the commencement speaker was. And I don't remember a single thing he said. But I'll tell you what I do remember. I remember my friends sitting there with me. I remembered what we were like, and I know who we are now. Many of them were able to hold on to who they wanted to be. And they became nurses and doctors and lawyers and CEOs and star parents and social workers and professors. We get together for reunions quite often. We're proud of who we were. We're more proud of who we became. Some people gather to relive the glory days, but some people don't come at all. They lost hold of who they wanted to be. They let go of what their real dream was. You see, an important clock goes off today. Not everybody is going to hear it, but it does nevertheless. Today, you start the heart of your life. You start to realize whatever the best that you can be. It's up to you whether to hold on to it. And why wouldn't you? For all we know, this is the one and only life we get. So why not make it your best one? Why not pursue your true passions? And when I say true passion, I mean your true passion, not what somebody else wants you to do, not what's easy or predictable, not a fake version of you. And candidly, it can be frightening to confront what you really want to do, because it might be hard or rare or big. It might not be what you majored in. You'll never be truly satisfied if you're too scared to honestly confront and hold on to your real passion. Don't kid yourself into thinking you're not much. You are much. So don't wait for some miracle to start your life. Every morning when you look in the mirror, you see a miracle. That's what every one of us is, a 1 in a billion life. I know a lot about a few of you, but I know this about every one of you. I know it's not your destiny. to squander your miracle. I know it's not your destiny to settle having come this far. Now, I have only one graduation message for you. Second confession. When I was a little girl, I was not always a good little girl. We had a minister who always made 3 points in the sermon, and sometimes my mind would drift off, and I'd come back and he'd be saying, and the second point, and I'd think, what? I thought we were toward the end of the third point. But nevertheless, I have only one graduation message for you. Find what matters most to you and don't let go. Don't let timing or fear or pain cause it to slip away. You see, someday you'll come back here. You want to come back proud. You should be proud of who you are right now. I want you to be more proud of who you become. Proud of what you hold on to. A few quick stories proves the point. When I learned in school that there was an actual mountain in Africa that was topped with ice and snow, I knew that's where I want to go. That was my heart's desire. It's where I wanted to go most in the world. But timing was not my friend, and I was not able to go until I turned 40. And even then, because of family and career logistics, the only time I could go was during the short rains, as they say. Now, some of you have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Almost all of you will have done it during the long, dry seasons that happen every year. We found ourselves in Kilimanjaro during the short rains. We found it to be almost abandoned, and we learned why. I gathered 2 of my very best friends it's noted that I met as a freshman at University of Georgia. We headed to Kilimanjaro to climb the 19,341-foot roof of Africa. You may think we had significant mountain experience. You would be wrong. We had no experience unless you count Stone Mountain, and you shouldn't. But we planned and we prepared and we got in the shape of our lives. The timing was out of our control, so was the weather. The rain started soon after we did. The rain stopped once we got high enough for it to turn into sleet and then snow. By day 5, almost everything that we brought was at least partially wet. No open fires are allowed, so it's virtually impossible to dry things in your tent. The higher you get, the colder you get, especially when your clothes are wet, and the higher you get, the thinner the air becomes. So we were cold and tired and oxygen challenged when fear of not making it crept in. And on the final day, we stopped about an hour from the summit to talk about just coming on down. My friend's hair was frozen in an odd pattern. We took a knife and we chopped up a single candy bar and chopped up a single big ibuprofen, and we split them. And I don't know if it was the chocolate talking or the Advil, but we started to encourage each other. And we remind ourselves, we come all this way to accomplish what was really my heart's desire. We couldn't control the timing, we can't control the weather. It turned out being a lot harder and a lot more uncomfortable than we imagined. But we were prepared, and we were capable, and we realized if we just let ourselves be extraordinarily uncomfortable for one more hour, we will reach that summit, we will stand on the roof of Africa, and we will revel it for all our days. And that's exactly what we did And all these years later, we still bask in it. It is one of the highlights of my personal life, and I almost missed it because of discomfort and fear. We leaned on each other, we leaned on our preparation, and we held on to what mattered most. On a professional level, I had a similar experience of holding tight through what matters, even when timing and fear conspire to make you quit. Long before I was ever a judge, long before I was ever a prosecutor, I volunteered to do defense work, to represent those accused of crimes. You see, it was always my life's dream to be a trial lawyer. That's all I ever wanted to do. But in volunteering for that kind of work, my practice wound up much differently than I thought early on. At a very early age, at the very beginning of my career, I actually wound up doing death penalty defense. And there came a point early in one of my first cases where I got flat out scared. It was more responsibility than I thought I should have at that point of my career. You might say I was scared to death. Because if you don't do a good job in those cases, your client can be put to death. And the weight of it was creeping in. I reached out to a University of Georgia law professor under the auspices of asking him something about the jury pool. But what I really wanted to hear is what he told me after we began to talk. He said, "Lisa, I've graded your papers. I've heard you at the podium. You were born to do this. You want to do this. Don't let fear rob you of the opportunity." He was right. What matters most as a trial lawyer is jumping in there and fighting for somebody other than yourself. It was my dream to be a trial lawyer. And in those dreams, I wasn't doing little piddly cases. I was doing big ones. And this is my opportunity. Well, I'm happy to report that things went fairly well. Although that client was convicted, he did not receive the death penalty. And we stayed in contact for more than 2 decades. Looking back now, I can see that those opportunities is what really jump-started my whole career. Because the jurors and the witnesses, they would call and hire me. One juror said, "I saw you fighting for that man, and I know you could really help me." But I almost let go of what mattered most to me because of rough timing and fear. My last example is something that happened 6 days ago. It's something that the majority of us watched together, either in person or electronically. It happened in the world of sports. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason that sports and academics go together. They're good collegiate buddies because one informs the other. The lessons they impart apply to both. So last Saturday afternoon, there's a young man on the sidelines, firmly expecting to remain there. Why shouldn't he? He'd been on the sidelines all season long, relegated to the role of backup quarterback. He'd been in a few snaps, a few moments, but not today. He was prepared, he was trained, he had desire, and he has his UGA teammates. Millions of people are watching, but that doesn't matter. He won't be playing. Not in the most important game so far, not in the championship, until the foreseen, the unforeseen became the scene. There he is. It's his moment. He can't control the timing. He can't control the consequences. But he can choose to be prepared, to be trained, to play with people that have his back. Well, you know what happened. It went into overtime, and with the championship on the line, he gets hit. He gets hit so hard, his chin strap breaks. He gets hit so hard, he lost his helmet. But you know what he didn't lose? He didn't lose the ball. He remembered what mattered most. And on the very next play, his teammates put that ball where it belonged and the game was over. Under extreme pressure, intense pain, glaring spotlight, stark consequences, he remembered what mattered and did not let go. I don't know what will become of his playing career in the future, but I know that most of us will remember that golden day, that golden play, when his number was unexpectedly called. He was ready, and he held on to what mattered. Now, thankfully, few of us will ever be hit by a big defensive back. But make no mistake, life is cunningly unfair at times. And the wolf of randomness, it's always at the door. We can be leveled by a financial crisis. We can be brought to our knees by a medical diagnosis. And there are calls a family can receive late at night from the head of the Georgia State Patrol that will make us wish we had only been hit by a football player. Graduates, what matters, what makes the difference, what defines success, what breeds joy is not getting scared, it's not getting hit, it's not having your name called. It's whether you hold on that what matters. It's whether you lean into your education, whether you lean into your preparation, whether you reach out to your UGA context to not let pain and timing and circumstance make you let go. In conclusion, Winston Churchill, his favorite canine, his dog of choice, was the English bulldog, like our Uga. He explained why. He said the English bulldog's nose is slanted skyward so that he can breathe and not let go. Class of 2024, honor your bulldog pedigree. Find your authentic passion, and as long as you breathe, don't let go.